is Joseph Patterson.
My name is Mrs. Grant.
I'm the president of the UIC, which is Jamaica's official third political party in Jamaica.
Okay.
So you know that Jamaica have two main parties, right?
Yeah.
So this one is the newest one on the block. Yeah. We're committed to fixing the problem that they have not fixed in the last 7 years.
Me again did it great. And how far me are coming from. And me no reach it. Me no upset. Cause how far me are coming from and me no reach it. Me happy when me dem, me nah worry, me nah fret. I saw the thing go, I saw life set, me nah get upset, no. How far me are coming from and me no reach it. Me happy when me dem, me nah worry, me nah fret. I saw the thing go, I saw life set, me nah get upset, no. Me never understand when me little and I go. If me throw out a door, that means say me poor. And when hunger speak and none of the house to eat, me just to find a fruit tree. What I got on like an Nancy story in me grandmother arm. Laughed and over true riches na me panties. Calm alone on one. Early morning, wake up, pick up and back up himself. After that, go draw the water from the well, wash up my body, press me clothes, we got school, go spell. Me mad, I no money alone, me fi on knowledge as well. And my father, woulda kick me down if no waste the money and get expelled. How far me I come from and me no reach it. Me happy when me dem, me nah worry, nah fret. I saw the thing go, I saw life set, me nah get upset, no.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson. Tonight, we're doing an impromptu conversation, not pre-planned. Just wanted to touch base with you all and let you know what's happening on a number of fronts, and also to discuss any questions or comments you may have, something you want to talk about. So good evening and welcome to all of you, wherever you are. I see Peter White is on and Juliet is on as well, and others are jumping on. So we're going to chat a little bit about what's happening in Jamaica. There's so many things happening in the area of politics, which affects economics, education, healthcare, road safety, crime, all kinds of stuff happening. And from time to time, we need to just relax and have a conversation. I want to pick up Mr. Kevin Nelson for the chat that was done on Friday night, and you can look forward to more of that each and every Friday night. Also want to remind you of our upcoming Christmas banquet, which will be happening on December 14th right here in Jamaica at Summit Kingston in Kingston at the former Knutsford Court Hotel. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there as much as possible. If you can't make it, please be sure to buy a ticket so we can give to somebody that's less fortunate to come out to the Christmas banquet. At the beginning of this live, you would have seen, let me show you here, you'd have seen this. Basically, every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., we're going to be having a live conversation here as well as on Zoom. So anyone who wants to be on the Zoom platform to talk directly with me and other members of the team, you can make sure you subscribe to uicjamaica.com and we'll send you by email the link so you can join us on the conversation. We'll be talking about everything from our upcoming election campaign, the 63 candidates that we want to roll out over the several weeks, the 500,000 members, dues-paying membership that we're trying to build right now to ensure the UIC is solid and able to compete effectively across all 14 parishes. So we have a lot of work and a lot to talk about, and your help will be needed in all of that. We can't do that by ourselves, so all of we have to come together and make it happen. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you about that on Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Live on this platform and others. But more specifically, if you want to join the conversation behind the scenes directly, you need to subscribe to our website, so uicjamaica.com. So go on and hit the registration button and make sure you register, become a member, and receive the email so you can join us, on an ongoing basis. So let's begin tonight's conversation. Welcome, Monica Richards. Good to see you on as well. Let's begin by just identifying what is the most important topic to you. What is something happening in Jamaica right now that is at the top of your agenda and you want us to talk about that? Just go ahead and type it in the chat section so I can see and we can talk about that. A few things come to mind though. Recently, you might have heard in the news where the Chief Justice and the Minister of Justice are in public conversation about the need to renovate the courts. I don't know why they're having a public conversation about that. That's a normal part of the operating procedures of government. And so you would have, in any normal government, the finance minister in consultation with the members of the cabinet, and in particular, the member of cabinet responsible for the courts, to ensure that adequate funds are placed in the budget to address repairs and maintenance of our justice system. Apparently, they have not been having those proper conversations and have not made proper provisions, or the provisions that were made are being spent in ways that they were not intended to be spent. All that means is waste and mismanagement of taxpayers' resources. And so basically, once again, in one more area of government, you see that they're wasting our money. So Jamaica doesn't have a shortage of funds. So when you hear me talk about what the UIC is going to do when we're elected, and people get concerned that maybe we won't have the funds to pay for the things. No, we will have the funds. Jamaica has a lot of money. Billions of dollars are flowing into the banking sector's private profit from nothing but banking. Not very productive. Still important, but not very productive. But they're making billions in profit. So we're not short of funds. And the government is spending a ton of money as well, wasting our taxpayers' money left, right, and center while telling us foolishness. I'll give you another example. Recently, Everald Warmington chastised the Integrity Commission for not submitting annual audited financial statements. And he made a comment where he said to the finance minister in the House that the finance minister must not give the Integrity Commission $1 more until the commission submits its audited financial statements. Would you believe that for the past 6 years, since the Integrity Commission existed or is in existence, it has always filed an audited set of financial statements every year on time in accordance with statute, and that the finance minister has to sign off on these. But the finance minister, in the presence of other members and based on the chiding of the Everald Warmington, actually agreed with Mr. Warmington that his request for them to submit audited statement is quite in order and that he would see to it. Now that goes to show you that the finance minister doesn't know what's going on, because he's the one signing off on the auditor for the audited financial statements, but he doesn't know that. And Mr. Warmington is on the committee that should receive those financial statements, and him don't know that either. So who is running our government? What are they really doing there? These guys are spending all of their time figuring out how to rip off taxpayers and not paying attention to the actual procedures and the actual management of our government. These are things you should all be very, very concerned about. Of course, we're all well aware of the Prime Minister's current situation with his asset declarations and his failure to identify all the bank accounts and how much money has passed through it, and his filing an injunction against the Integrity Commission and wanting to change the laws. You hear Marlene Malihu Fort wanting to change the laws concerning the Integrity Commission, the very laws that they approve as government. They now want to change because it's not working the way they would like it to work, and has brought to the front, some issues. But my point is that we have some people running our government into the ground, telling us a whole heap of things, but don't even know the basic things about what's going on in the government. So the UIC is here, though, not merely to complain, not merely to point out what is wrong, but to offer us something much better than what we have now. We call it good governance. We call it a non-partisan constitutional republic. And we talk about specific areas of government that we want to change and will change when we're elected. But of course, as some people might say, it's a pipe dream if we don't figure out a way how to ensure that we effectively fund the party and movement to work for the people of Jamaica. Because, we can get funding, the normal way, which is to get funding from the PSOJ oligarchs. We can go beg them and go crawl on our knees and say, come on, man, help you out, no? But that would be quite foolish and counterproductive, because it means the UIC would not be able to work for you anymore. Just like all the other two colonial parties do not work for you. They work for the PSOJ oligarch that funds them. And it's very simple. Whoever is funding you, them you go work for. And so right now, the PSOJ oligarch funds the two colonial parties. And as a result of that, it owns them and they work for it. The same thing happens with the colonial masters. They're the ones that provide the big loans and grants that our government continues to depend on. They don't need to. If they run the country properly, they don't need to do that. But they do that, and they depend on the, their colonial masters to direct them. So that is why you see more and more our school curriculum is shifting towards certain lifestyle agendas, which fits the colonial masters' directive. That is why you see our health policy shift towards certain kinds of medication and certain kinds of family planning and certain kinds of sexual orientation direction. Because again, we have a licky government that depends and love to take money from other countries just to get more money in the coffers, because the more money that comes into the coffers, the more they can scam, right? They can steal, they can use the money to misallocate it to build up their campaign funds, to pay campaign people through nepotism to have positions in government, but they're not really doing the work of government. They're doing the work of preparing for the next election. But they have a job in government. They sit on boards, they sit on committees, they have various posts and offices, they get cars, they get vehicles, they get allowances, and all of this is milking taxpayers and also benefiting from grants and so on from their colonial masters, which leads to them using those funds to feather their nest, but at the same time, they have to deliver on what their colonial masters or their local PSOJ oligarchy masters direct them to do. And in that process now, we, the Jamaican people, are led astray. So before you know it, Jamaica will become a full-blown alphabet country, where, all the rainbow colors and everything are flying, and we find ourselves having lost our way completely. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against people choosing to do whatever they want to do with themselves, but I'm totally against the government imposing those things on the people. I am against social engineering, where the government use our tax dollars and the money they get from their colonial masters to, reshape us into the image of other people. I want us to be true Jamaicans. As a matter of fact, I want us to re-identify with our African roots and find ourselves again and be able to stand up as men and women of African descent, majority, and some from others. And we welcome everybody. So Chinese, Indians, doesn't matter. But our Africanness have been challenged over the years. and we have been Europeanized a lot. And so the time has come for us to do some work to, remediate that. So welcome, Magalian. Good to see you on. One Jamaica all the time. Big up yourself. Good night, Bolo. Good to see you on as well. What we have here, I thought Jamaica was in autopilot. What government? Ha ha ha. Well, the truth is Jamaica is not really in autopilot, to be honest. We have some people in our government who are working very hard, but not for we, the people of Jamaica. They're working very hard for various objectives. When you have a system like what we have in Jamaica, and that's why the UIC wants to change the system. You see, systems create two things. Systems create incentives and disincentives. You have to be careful what incentives you create and what disincentives you create. Incentives cause people to do more of something, and disincentives cause people to do less of some things. What you want is, when you design a proper system of governance, you want to have incentives that encourages good behavior, and you want to have disincentives that discourages bad behavior. Jamaica seemed to have adopted mostly laws and regulations and even unwritten rules that have incentives to do bad things and disincentives when they come on to good things. So the UIC has carefully crafted a system of governance to bring out the best in our people, while the current system is designed to bring out the worst in us. And it has worked. It has worked big time. Andrew Henry says, big up the UIC, keep pushing hard against the unethical system of government. Yes, absolutely. That's our role here, of giving Jamaica a clear vision of what we can do to become the great country we were meant to be. Peter White says, safety of returning residents. Jamaican is only one of my top gripe. Thank you, Peter White. Good for you to say that. Safety is of paramount importance to all Jamaicans. Whether you are in the diaspora and want to come home, or whether you came home already, like myself, or whether you have lived here all your life and never left, all three groups want Jamaica to be a safe place. But why can't we have a safe place in Jamaica? Why is it that Jamaica has become continuously more unsafe? And what can we do about it? You all know, or should know, that Jamaica was once very peaceful, relatively speaking. If you go back to the 1960s, you'll notice that we only had about 60 or so murders every year. Very rare. We didn't have much murders. We didn't have a lot of violence either. But over the years, the violence has crept up. The real ethos of the violence come in two forms. One of the problem with Jamaica when it comes on to crime and violence is that we are coming from a slavery tradition where our foreparents were brutalized by their colonial masters, their slave masters. We were beaten viciously, lashed, and really treated poorly by those who had the upper hand in the first 350 to 400 years of chattel slavery, and then colonial period where we were free but not really free. We were also trained by our British overlords to use violence to resolve problems or to instill discipline. So you might recall in our school system, all of we get whole heap of beaten. A lot of us get beaten in a school. And when you go home, you get beaten from your parents as well. So violence was and still is a traditional part of the Jamaican experience. But where it really picked up and became more serious, if you will, I hate to say that because it was always serious, but it got really chronic in terms of the violence turning into murder, and it's no longer just a matter of using violence to settle disputes or to instill discipline. You now went into a bigger problem where we were now attacking each other and killing each other on a tremendous level. All of that really kicked off in the beginning in the late 1930s, when Marcus Garvey began to work on giving the Jamaican people a sense of identity and a sense of purpose and a sense of mission, when he created the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. And if you ever get the chance, you want to read this book here. It's called The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. A pretty good book to read. It tells you about the work that he was doing, here to try to help us. But when Marcus Garvey created the first political party here in Jamaica, something significant happened. The people of Jamaica started to think outside of the box that they were placed in. Remember the box that we were in. First, we found ourselves to be slaves for about 360 years, roughly, initially. We were enslaved in our own country. I know there's the idea that we were brought here from Africa. That's one part, but there are also people here as well. So some of us were transported from Africa and some were here. But right here in Jamaica, we were enslaved. We shouldn't take that lightly. I wish we had more interest and more academic work in our schools or high schools or primary schools to teach us our true history. But suffice it to say, we the Africans, we suffered a magnificent defeat when we became slaves on a massive level. Slavery always existed. Even within Africa, slavery existed. And outside of Africa, slavery existed. But the African slave trade was the most massive organization of slavery the world has ever seen. And so during this phase when we were slaves here in Jamaica, because we messed up, because we were divided, because some of our leaders were licky and engaged in the slave trade and depopulated Africa and lock us into a vicious system. And remember what this system did. This system ensured that we had a massive learning loss. So we were not allowed to read. We were not allowed to learn to write. And when you can't read and write, and when you were forced by beating to unlearn what you previously learned, when you were dehumanized, you lost consciousness, you lost awareness, and you have lost the intellect, the genetical intellect that would have been developed over the years in your people. You that was beaten out of us. So in the early years of coming down to the 1930s, 40s, our people had become somewhat docile and were more peaceful in the sense that we saw ourselves as a community, and the oppressors were these white colonials who we develop a unique relationship with. Here's the relationship. We hate them, but we revered them. We know that they're bad, but we admired them. I wonder if you get what I'm saying here. So, for example, when it came time for us to be independent, and our colonial masters came here in the form of the so-called royal family, we never treated them like who they are: evil, horrible, wicked people. Instead, we adored them and we cheered them and we clapped them. By then, we had bought fully into their religion as well. And we saw God in the image of them as opposed to in the image of ourselves. So we lost so much about us by then, but we still kind of cling together. So we had a more sociable way of life, a more communal way of life. We were more of a community. We kind of looked out for each other. We were bonded together by our common pain and our common suffering. That suffering included being denied access to quality education, access to quality healthcare, denied access to the full economy. We were marginalized and suppressed at the bottom. But we were together. We were one. We saw ourselves as you are one of we, and we are one of you, and we're together. I hope you're following me carefully here, because what happened is, by the late 30s, when Marcus Garvey formed the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, that's the basis on which he's forming it. But those in power, those who control the economy, the plantocracy, they saw very quickly how dangerous that was. Just imagine if Marcus Garvey was to be allowed to be successful, to fully organize the people on a political scale, where now they had political power and political clout, and learned the system of politics, and learned what it means to govern yourself, to govern yourself as an industrious nation of people. So those in power, those who control the economy then, the plantocracy, they own the plantations, they own the manufacturing concerns, they own the merchandising establishment. They were absolutely deadly afraid of what Marcus Garvey was about to achieve. And remember how he was achieving it. He was not asking the plantocracy, the rich, powerful people of the country, to fund his efforts, because he knew that would be suicidal, because they're never going to fund their own demise. They're not going to fund you to destroy the system that is keeping them wealthy and powerful and above the rest of you. So Marcus Garvey went to the people. And Marcus Garvey is one of the first person, if not the first person in the world, to organize crowdfunding of the masses. And so the people were now coming together to fund the UNIA and the Marcus Garvey's party, the People's Political Party. And so now you have a coming together of the, remember, no, we were united. Yes, we were oppressed. Yes, we were depressed. Yes, we were poverty stricken. We were being held down by those who we have come to revere and worship, even while quietly also hating, because we understood who the enemy was. The enemy at that time were those who were keeping us out of higher education, keeping us out of good health care, keeping us out of being able to own a decent home, keeping us out of the economy, from not being able to rise in the economy, but to stay at a certain marginal labor level, a labor right level. They wanted us to stay at that labor level and not move up. And so Marcus Garvey was beginning to organize the people on a level of consciousness that they had lost because of the learning loss of the 360 years of slavery, plus the next 140 years of colonialism, and so on. So by the 1930s into the 1940s, those people who control the economy, the richest people in Jamaica, are mostly white people and half white people and high color people. Yeah, because that stratas, that classism, right? So the whiter you were, the more access you had to opportunities and wealth and power. And the darker you were, the less access you had. Or if you were dark, but you make some connections and get yourself into the right circles, you have some opportunities there. Similar to today, except that the color is not so much important today. It's more the connection. Yeah. So follow me carefully now. So Marcus Garvey is organizing the people to become politically intelligent, industrially intelligent, organized, and ready to rise up and take over their country. And so the plantocracy class, the moneyed class, they made sure to organize and get rid of Marcus Garvey and to get rid of his political party. And so they then created the People's National Party and asked Norman Manley to lead that party to make sure that the people do not subscribe to the Marcus Garvey mission of true self-reliance and true freedom and true liberty and true industrialization and development of the black man. They needed to head that off. They needed to cut that off, stop it from progressing. So what they did, the PNP adopted a lot of Marcus Garvey's manifesto, took the words, like they do today. They take the words from the UIC. They take the words from Marcus Garvey and play it back to the people. And it's like music to their ears. Now, of course, they're going to have more money than the Marcus Garvey party, because while Marcus was trying to build the crowdfunding and so on, they were busy tearing him down in the media. Back then, it was the Gleaner Company. They write all kind of bad articles about him, tried every which way to diminish him and belittle him and defame him, just like they do with me today. And so while they're defaming Marcus Garvey and crushing him, they bring the PNP on the scene and borrowed Marcus Garvey's ideas and tell it back to the people. And the people say, yeah, that's so nice. And the person they put in front of them is a white-looking man. And, remember, I tell you, our people were kind of brainwashed already. We know that the white man oppressed we, but we kind of still revere him and see him like a god. And we even will go so far as seeing our God as looking white as opposed to looking like us. So we were already kind of messed up. So now placing Norman Washington Manley in front of us, a highly educated Jamaican-born whitish man who was a Rhodes Scholar and who went to England and get his law degree and could speak well and look good and represented what in our minds we were trained to see as a good example of somebody worthy of our adoration and praise, somebody worthy of who should lead us. It was so bad that by the time of PJ Patterson, we now find ourselves talking about his black man time now. So that means it must have been white man time before, and now it's black man time. And later on, we get to woman time now, and so on. So it just tells you a bit about where we're coming from. When you hear certain phrases, you must analyze them, assess why we're saying these things, where it come from, how did we get here so? And so Norman Manley and the People's National Party, with the funding of the PSOJ oligarchy that was then called the plantocracy, which included the media backing him and backing this direction and pushing away the Marcus Garvey and suppressing the Marcus Garvey and forcing the Marcus Garvey out so that we don't go the way of Garvey. They didn't want us to go the way of Garvey. The way of Garvey was true liberation, true freedom for the black man, real education for the black man, industrialization for the black man. The black man must become the master of his own destiny. The black man must now control all of his enterprise and all of his country and all of his resources. And they're afraid of that. They were scared to death about that, because at that time, the people who are run things, they don't want that to happen. And so Norman Manley, the People's National Party, emerged on the scene with the full backing of the big money private interest, the plantocracy, those who control the plantations, those who control the sugar, the banana, the coffee, the cocoa, those who control the manufacturing concerns, those who control the big merchandising enterprises. Them take out, them push Manley and the PNP front and center. Now, while that is happening, they said, hold on a second. We can't allow the people them to just have that, because they need to have something they see as the opposing side, who is Manley going to fight against? If I'm fighting against the colonial masters, then the people will be united against the colonial masters. So we don't want that. So then they pull out his cousin, Bustamante, and form the controlled opposition. So now you have the duopoly, a duopoly. So the people now will have two opposing forces in front of them. And so the people now will become distracted away from wanting to achieve what I said before, which was for them to control their own destiny, to be liberated, to be empowered, to be unified against the real enemy. Now they would be divided among themselves. They would now see themselves as GLP versus PNP, green versus orange. And that's when the crime and violence took off. Because now they were learning to hate each other. That social fabric that I talked about before was now destroyed or being destroyed. So we were becoming less and less sociable, less and less cohesive, less and less communal, and more tribal, more and more violent, more and more aggressive towards each other. To the point where by 1962 at independence, we loved our enemy. We worshipped our enemy. We praised our enemy. We laid out the red carpet for our enemy. We bowed before our enemy. We allowed our enemy to write our constitution. And we made our enemy the head of our state. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely amazing? We made our enemy the head of our state. Bustamante said it well. When they were writing the Constitution, he said, I am of the Queen and I am for the Queen. Meaning, him no want a constitution where the Queen is not embedded in it as the most important thing for a new Jamaica, his version of a new Jamaica, which was really an old Jamaica. It was simply going to be that instead of having the clear, unequivocal, full-time management of the country by the British colonials, you're now going to have an agency class, some agents, two agents, in fact, three agents. One agent will be the plantocracy class, the rich elite that control all the wealth that they gained through nefarious means, through unfair means, by oppressing people that were slaves and denying them their land and denying them the value of the wealth stolen from their slave labor and denying them compensation for the learning loss that they suffered over 400 years of slavery and colonization. So they were wealthy not by their hard working productive efforts, but by theft, by craft, by scamming, by exploitation, by oppression. But yet still they had it. And so now Bustamante, in collusion with Norman Manley, wrote or accepted rather a constitution from Britain that they tinkered around with a little bit and placed in front of the Jamaican people and say, this is the Bible that we shall now follow in terms of our governance. And that Bible made it very clear that you shall have government and opposition. Theory two-party where I run things. But the structure that they designed ensured that the existence of those two parties depended upon the financial support of the plantocracy, the PSOJ oligarchs today, those who will continue to control the economy and keep the mass of people as wage slaves. They will continue to control the politics of Jamaica because with the ill-gotten gains that they had now accumulated, they will, at each electoral cycle, provide the funds for these two parties and none other to go and fool the people, to go and buy the people, to go and sweet up the people in their misery and get them to come out and vote for them, even if that number continues to shrink year after year. Even if the number went from 80% to 70% to 60% to 50% to 40% to now 30-ish% or 29% in the local. Them not care, as long as these two parties, with the backing of the PSOJ oligarchs, with the backing of the plantocracy, with the backing of the very money that they're stealing from the people of Jamaica by suppressing them and keeping their wages low and keeping them on the margins of the economy, as long as every election they will get the $300, the $400, the $500 million to ring the bell and shout shower, or to raise the fists and shout power, and to drive all about with people hanging out of the bus and blowing horns and going to conference and painting up yourself green and orange and painting your dog green and orange and throwing stones and stick and bottle and then drawing gun and shooting down one another. They don't care about us killing ourselves. All they care about is that we go out and legitimize them, because this is a scam. It's a fraud. But the fraud is legitimized because every year we have what appears to be relatively peaceful elections. And every year, every 5 years, 4 years, we tally up ballots and we pretend as if we have a democracy. When anybody with half a brain knows that it's not a democracy. There's no democracy here. The people are not voting of their own volition. The people are being misled, cajoled, tricked, deceived into voting for one or the two. And it doesn't matter which one wins, because the ultimate winner is the PSOJ oligarch behind the scenes. They win whether you vote PNP, and they win whether you vote JLP, because at the end of the day, both parties belong to those who fund it. They belong to the PSOJ oligarchy. So the only way to change that is to have a party like the UIC that is not funded by the PSOJ oligarchy, but is actually funded by we the people. If we fund it, then we own it. If we own it, it works for we. If the PSOJ oligarchs fund it, it works for them, not we. And so as long as we're hoping that these two parties fix the crime problem, we're hoping in vain. It will never be fixed. Jamaica will never be a safe country for you to live comfortably and peacefully like in other countries, like Singapore, for example. When I go to Singapore, my wife and I can sleep very comfortably without any burglar bars. We can walk on the street any hours of night without any fear. We can eat anywhere, drink anywhere, drive anywhere. It's a beautiful, clean, relaxing, engaging, entertaining, sociable space. Unlike Jamaica, which is dirty in most spaces, and you have to go into a resort or a gated community to enjoy some artificial level of safety. No, we don't want that. We want the real thing. But you will never get it, because what you're asking for is the impossible. You're asking for those who create the crime problem. You're asking for those who benefit from crime. You're asking for, in many ways, by the way. You see, what you don't understand is our political system incentivizes corruption, which is the biggest crime, and that leads to all the other crimes. The current system incentivizes the politicians to behave the way they do. It incentivizes the supporters of these two political parties to behave the way they do. And the people at the bottom who vote, because most of the people who are not at the very bottom don't vote, and most of the people who do vote are those at the very bottom, because those above the bottom have come to realize that it doesn't matter. If they vote this one, they get the same result, this one. So right now they hate the current one, but fine, you're going to go vote for the other one, same result. So the bottom line is this, that the existing system incentivizes corruption because you have to engage in corruption to maintain the system. So the only way to break the system is if we do what the UIC is proposing. We have to fund and own our own party. And that's where we have a big challenge now, because we have been brainwashed into thinking that politicians must rich, they must come and they must rich, and they must give you things. And we don't bother to ask, how do they go around? How did they get the time to be driving around and going everywhere in these communities and carrying on and spending money the way that are they Santa Clauses? Are they tooth fairies? The people don't fully get it, that somebody is paying them to do this. And the people who are paying them, that's an investment for them. They're investing $500 million because they know that as long as their two parties win, they're going to get back much more than $500 million. So a time for we now to wise up and understand. And so the UIC is here as the education party, spending the time to educate you about what's going on, and with the hope that with your enlightenment, you will join hands with me, with us, and say, yes, let's pick up where Marcus Garvey left off. Let's crowdfund, let's organize, let's educate ourselves, let's emancipate ourselves from mental slavery and rise up and take back our country. So that's what we're trying to do here. So Mr. White asked earlier on, how do we get a safe Jamaica? And here's how we get it. We have to get rid of, we have to replace the two parties, the two colonial parties, because they are the foundation of the crime problem. When they came into being, they were used to divide us. They were used to distract us. They were used to turn us into enemies of each other. They can't solve this crime problem because if they were to try to really solve it, they would implicate themselves. They will implicate themselves. So to bring down crime is to bring down themselves. So they can't do it. So that leaves us now, we the people, the 60 to 70% who are becoming more aware now, have to go one step further than being aware. We have to take action now. And the action means joining the UIC, becoming a dues-paying member in the UIC, allowing us to have the funds that we need, the human capital that we need, to be able to buy the PR skills, buy the campaign skills, buy the resources that we need to now win over the rest of the nation. And here's the tricky part. And it's a very effective way. If we build our membership to 500,000 by each of us, each one reach one, and each of us just reach more and more, and build our membership to 500,000 members in Jamaica and outside Jamaica. So in the diaspora, that's fine, you're a member too. You're local, you're a member too. Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, as I said before, Kingston, St. Andrew, Portland, St. Thomas, St. Catherine, all of us. Draw Jamaicans from all of these places, and we become the massive body now that Marcus Garvey started to create. And we become one big, massive voting bloc, one big, massive funding bloc. And 500,000 a week cannot go wrong. 500,000 strong will not go wrong. And we, with that massive number of people, contributing just 1,000 a week Jamaican or $10 a month, 1,000 a month Jamaican or just $10 a month US, together now, control our own political party. So come election time, nothing can stop we. We have the manpower, we can pay for it, we can pay for offices in all 63 constituencies. We can pay for workers, volunteers, support our volunteers and our staff in each of these constituencies, in all 228 municipal divisions. And now they can't thief the ballots because we're dead. Yeah? They can't overcome it because we have the numbers on the ground. We can buy all the flyers in the world. We can have the media coverage that we need. We can control our own mobilization efforts across the country. But we have to do that. We have to decide that we want this. And we have never been better positioned than now to do that. For the first time in our history, we now have better communication than Nanny had. And if Nanny could have beat the British and forced them to enter a treaty of some sort, we can do it even now. Marcus Garvey built a massive enterprise in the US without having any social media. And they had to gang up on him and kick him out. So we can do it. So if we want to make Jamaica safe, if we want to make Jamaica clean and orderly, if we want to make Jamaica into a place where all of we can live, all of we can earn, all of we can retire with dignity, this is how we have got to do it. Marcus Garvey has left us the fundamental blueprint of organizing. It's just that we have lost the knowledge because they are busy dumbing down the nation. That is why after 4 years of Andrew Holness as education minister and 8 years of him as prime minister, 12 years of him impacting our education system, we have the highest failure rate ever in the history of Jamaica. 82% of our students failed to achieve 5 subjects, including math and English. 82%. Let that sink in. What kind of country can you build that is failing 82% of its student population every year? What kind of country will that be? They're trying to make it very hard for a UIC to rise up, because if you make the people fully dunce, they will never rise up except in a bloody revolution and you shoot them down. And will become like Haiti. Them don't want an educated Jamaica. But I can tell you this, there are no educated nation where the people are poor. None whatsoever. And there are no poor nation where the people are educated. So we know that education is the key. But before we can get to educate the people fully, we have to do it politically now and create a massive university of 500,000 members. So every single week, we want to come together. And we want to come together each week. And we're going to meet on Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. So this week, Tuesday, and every Tuesday afterwards, we're coming together. And we are going to be working on getting to this place where we have all 63 constituencies filled out and 500,000 members on our roster, dues-paying members, so that together we can achieve what we have set out to achieve as a movement. We're not an ordinary political party. We're a movement. We're only called a political party because of the system. We're not here to play politics. We're not here to get into the cascas of the daily distraction. Right now, what's going on is a distraction every day. Every day you hear something new about the two parties. When it's not Marky British and his British connection, it is Andrew and his illicit 6 or 7 or 8. Or it is Warmington and his foolishness. Or it is Damien running up and down talking a bunch of stuff and can't deliver on anything. But the bottom line is all of it is a scam. No matter what nice words they come with, remember the history that I taught you here today. They have done it to us before. It's more than 80 years now that these two parties have been used by the oligarchs, whether it's the plantocracy or the PSOJ oligarchy. It's the same game plan. And they've used the game plan over and over. See, we're now very excited about getting rid of Andrew. But to what avail? Getting rid of Andrew and putting Mark in the seat will change nothing. The PSOJ oligarchy will still be in charge. The colonial masters will still get their way. The Jamaican people will still come out the loser all over again. Look at the history of Jamaica carefully. Look at what's happening to us as a people. Every single solitary administration, whether it is Norman Manley, Bustamante, Donald Sangster, Hugh Shearer, Michael Manley, Edward Seaga, P.J. Patterson, Portia Simpson, Bruce Golding, or Andrew Holness, the trend is the same. The value of the dollar goes down. What does that mean? It means our productivity, our ability as a nation to produce and sell to the rest of the world continues to diminish, and we're buying more and more from the world and selling less and less to the world. More and more, our assets are being taken out of the hands of Jamaicans and placed into the hands of foreigners. We, the people of Jamaica, the ordinary people of Jamaica, are getting poorer. Even if the measurement of so-called poverty is whatever they say it is, don't be distracted by those foolish statistics. Look at the reality. Here's the reality. Less and less Jamaicans are owning the valuables of Jamaica. More and more of our lands, our buildings, all this so-called development that's happening, it's not the Jamaican people who are owning them. So if you see a building going up, it's not we owning it. Yes, there are a few of us. There are a few of us, the connected few, who, because of our connection, get to own pieces. Like if you come to Santa Cruz here, there are certain politically connected people who own a lot of the property. But overall, for the Jamaican people, overall for the Jamaican people, we the people are owning less and less and less of our country, and outsiders are owning more and more and more of our country, our beaches, our prime land, our prime real estate, our industries, more and more. All of these things are being owned by others. Don't be fooled by just numbers. Oh, GDP is going up, debt to GDP is coming down, poverty is down, unemployment is down. Don't be fooled by just the numbers. Look at the reality. Statistics, there are lies, damn lies, and then there are statistics. Okay? So there are lies, damn lies, and then statistics. So statistics is worse than lies and damn lies. Okay? So don't be moved. Don't be tricked. Don't be conned by somebody telling you statistics. You go back and watch the presentations in Parliament of Michael Manley, of P.J. Patterson, of Edward Seaga, of Bruce Golding, and hear the nice platitude that they all poured out to us. You might be a young man right now in your 30s or 20s, and this is foreign to you. Just listen to me. Don't be fooled. All of the crap you hear Andrew talking about now, we have said them before in the past. They have said them before. They have told us that Jamaica is poised to take off. We're going to have massive growth, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, let's look at the basics. If you are a 25-year-old today or a 30-year-old today, I bet you can't buy a house. And you have little to no hope of ever buying a house. If you buy a car, that's all you'll ever buy for the most part, if you're buying a good car. And you'll be paying that for a long time, paying it back for a long time. And that's why we have so much corruption, because people have to be trying to find alternate means to get a basic, decent standard of life. Them have a thief. They cannot just go to work and earn an income and be able to comfortably buy a home, buy a car if they think that's important. Now, no, cars, we shouldn't have to run and buy cars. What should happen is we should have a beautiful public transportation system. We should have a nice high-speed rail system from east to west and north to south in Jamaica. Long time. We're not talking even now. Long time we should have a beautiful high-speed rail system in Jamaica. Long time. Not even today. Today, it should be just standard, normal thing today. But we don't even have it now. We don't have it today. Why? Because our misleaders have misappropriated our funds, them thief for money. So we don't have high-speed rail. We should have beautiful roads connecting us from east to west and north to south and into every community. Long time. Well built, well designed. Instead, they boast about building highways from borrowed funds and we have to pay tolls to drive on it. Foolishness. Yes, I know other countries have toll. That's not the point here. Jamaica never needed a toll road. Jamaica needed good, well-designed, well-managed roads from east to west and north to south. That's all we needed. But we've never had that. So while they took our tax dollars and failed to give us proper roads, they then have to borrow money and tax us more and allow foreigners to own our roads and take our money out of our country. How ridiculous can that be? And we sit here and allow that. Well, because most of us are fully done. Not because we want to be fully done. I nearly come out of fully done too. Nearly. It's by the grace of God that I escape being a fully done. And I had to work hard to pull myself out of the possibility of being a fully done. So follow me. We can't ask them to fix the crime problem because they are the crime problem. We can't ask them to fix the economy, to make it a grassroots bottom-up economy because they're a part of the PSOJ oligarchy and the colonial masters. So their job is not to build a good economy. Their job is to maintain a master-slave economy with a lot of us as wage slaves and a few of them at the top, enjoying the benefits of our labor. Yeah? So, the UIC is our ticket out of perpetual poverty. The UIC is our ticket to a safe, clean, and orderly society. The UIC is our only hope for a truly free, sovereign, and independent Jamaica. None of the two parties, the two colonial parties, wants Jamaica to be a republic. None of them. What they want is to fool us again into editing the colonial constitution and keeping the structure, the very structure of corruption, and relabeling it a republic, whitewashing it. Fool we. So once again, we will clap and cheer for our own demise. If you think I'm lying, go back and check the history. In the 1800s, chattel slavery, when you chain people up and whip them and give them food and shelter upon your big plantation and let them eat the worst of the provisions, plant their own provisions and eat that while you beat them and extract their labor, chattel slavery, the 1800s. That became too expensive to maintain because now industry had kicked in, industrialization. There were cheaper, more effective ways of producing things, including sugar. And on top of that, the slaves were becoming more aggressive. They were burning down more plantations. They were making life miserable for the plantocracy. And so it was advantageous to give the slaves the idea that they were free. And so they created a fake or a false freedom and told the slaves, your wonderful queen has now given you freedom. Long live the queen. You know, I hate it when I go to court, at every court session, long live the king. What a sick thing. What a sick thing. You go to a court in Jamaica and the court is being held in the honor of the King of England, and they have to say, long live the king, and engage in all kind of foolish ceremonies and stupid behaviors about long live the king. Sick. Sick. And that's what these two colonial parties have maintained in this country for the last 80 years of their administration, from 1944 until now. But I digress. Remember, so from chattel slavery, what did they do in chattel slavery? They said, boy, we can't continue to maintain this system, you know. So to pacify the slave them and make them feel like so they're going to get somewhere, we're going to give them freedom. You're free now. You can go on. You're free. What a piece of trick. How can you be free? How can you be free when three things were denied you? Thing number one, they're setting you free, but they're not giving you back your land. No land is being given to you. The land that was stolen from your ancestors wasn't given to you, given back to you. You're being set free, Lego, like a wild dog. Go on, you're free now. And they hold on to the land that was stolen from your ancestors, which the UIC is committed to making every Jamaican whose foreparents were slave on this island will become property owner under a UIC government. We're going to return the land to the people. There shall be no such thing as crown land, and there shall be very little in the way of government land. The people must be given back their land. And I can tell you how we will do that. I've explained it in other videos before. But continuing from the issue of the chattel slavery. So them let go the people them and didn't give them back their land. So you have no land, but you're free. Remember, back in those days in particular, land is wealth. People have no land. No land on which to build a house. No land on which to grow their own food. No land which would give them a wealth base from which to build generational wealth. No land. So that's enough freedom. That is scamming. And then remember, for all the years, 360 years at the time, when they enslaved our foreparents, all of that labor that they stole from your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your great-great-grandmother, all of that wealth that they stole from them was never returned. Not even a little bit of it was returned. So what kind of freedom is that? You free the man and him wife and picnic, but them have no land, and you didn't give them back a little bit of the money that you thieved from them. So no land, no money, no capital. But here is the even worse part. I know you hear about it before about, no reparation, right? They say reparation, you must get back some money. But this is worse than just some money. Watch me carefully. Remember, they held on to the land. So they stole the land from your foreparents and didn't return it. The UIC will return it. They held on to the wealth that they stole from your labor, your slave labor. And third, there was no compensation for the massive amount of learning loss. Can you imagine how dunce we were in 1838 after 360 years of no education? No formal education, no academic education. So over that 360 years, you couldn't learn to read or write. You had to hide at the risk of your life if you're going to read a book or learn to write. So in 1838, when they said the slaves are free. The slaves now were jubilant because they were ignorant. They never understand what this means, that this is a fake freedom. And I'll show you how perfectly fake it was. From 1838 until 1944, well, actually, it was 1834 that they said it, and they gave them 4 years of apprenticeship. So 1834. From 1834 to 1944 is 100 years. And during that 100-year period, the former slaves could not vote, which means they were still slaves. If you don't have the land, and you don't have the money, and you don't have the education, all that was left for you was to go to your colonial master and beg a job. Yes, you could now choose who you're going to beg a job. You could now choose who you want to be your slave master. Before, you were tied to a master, and he could whip you and beat and do whatever he wanted with you freely. Now you're free, but to do what? You're free to go and beg a job from one of the existing slave masters. You follow me here? So the point I'm making is this. What has changed since then? In 1944, when they gave us the right to vote, they controlled the right to use the moneyed interest of the plantocracy to decide who could have any chance of being elected, just like today. Today, the moneyed class, the rich and powerful in Jamaica, they decide who is likely to be elected, because the UIC and other candidates can't get the visibility because they don't have the money like those who are being given millions by the plantocracy to be seen by you. You know, some people denounce the UIC. Some people love to say negative things and hateful things about the UIC. Oh, they've now gone away. They have no idea that they're actually cussing themselves. You're cussing yourself, because what you're saying is, I am not going anywhere. I am locked into these two colonial parties. I have no hope. And I have given up on any hope. And I will do nothing to take myself out of this crisis. I am going to sit in it and enjoy it and just live with it. So when that person is saying that, you know, whatever negatives they say about the UIC, oh, I thought it was going to go somewhere, but it not going anyway. You're talking about yourself. You're talking about you not going anywhere. We're in this together. This is a struggle for we the people, those of us who now have come of age and understanding and realize what was done to us and what is still being done to us. We now are the intelligent ones. We now are the ones who have found a way to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. We now are in a position to rise up and do something different. But some of us are contented to do foolishness like criticize themselves. And that's what you're doing. When you say bad things about the UIC, you're really talking about yourself. You're calling yourself a failure because you are failing to do what you need to do to emancipate us physically now, politically, economically. That's what the UIC is about. We're creating a space, an opportunity for we the people to rise up without a single shot, without a single drop of blood, without an ounce of violence. We are in a position now to rise up collectively and pool together our time, our talent, and our treasure, and use that muscle of the many. Alone we can't do it. Me alone, they'll cut me down easily. I am no match for them as an individual. It's only by us coming together that we can do this. They, 63 of them in Parliament, plus 228 councillors that they have, plus the die-hearted ones who are connected in various forms, right down to the one who will accept 5,000 for his vote. That only makes up 30% of our country. The other 70% of we don't realize our power. Don't realize the power that we have in these hands. Not just the vote. Voting is the easy part. Anybody can go and register at the Electoral Office of Jamaica to vote. Anybody can show up on election day and dip them finger in the ink and mark an X beside the head, the bell, or the handshake. Anybody can do that. But it takes men and women of steel, of grit, of vision, men and women who are true patriot, willing to stand up for something more than just fall for anything, to say we have to do the hard work of becoming a 500,000 strong movement, where all we know proudly say, I am a member of the UIC. I am a dues-paying member of the UIC. Every month, I pay my dues of 1,000 Jamaican dollars if I live a yard and 10 US dollars if I live abroad. And I am a member of this movement, and we're committed to creating one Jamaica, united, strong, and free. I'm committed to creating a Jamaica where we unite as a people around good governance, where we liberate ourselves, where we empower our people so that we can be truly free, truly independent, and enjoy a higher standard of living in a safe, clean, and orderly Jamaica. And we can do it. And we must do it. I see a lot of comment in the comment section here that I want to see if we can touch on before we wrap this up tonight. Let me see what we have here. Somebody says, what is this now? Somebody says here, as a longtime follower of the public start of the UIC years ago, Mr. Patterson, I'd be in total bliss to see a beautiful UIC billboard smack dab in the middle of downtown Kingston. Absolutely, Mr. White. Let's raise the money to do it. 200,000 Jamaican dollars give us a billboard in Kingston. So somebody can, how much is that in let me see. Let me tell you how much is that in US dollars. Get us $200,000 and we get a billboard up at US 156. That's 1,282 US dollars, 1,003 US, and we get that done. Juliet says, UIC for a better Jamaica, education for the people of Jamaica, enough is enough. And Code Red is saying good night. African Rain, good to see you on. Vote UIC, that's the only way we can live comfortably. Vote to get rid of those two parties. L Silda Smith says, facts, they claim Jam is best, prosperous, ever old idiots. Yes, true, they want a non-educated nation. That's what African Rain says. El Silda, facts, give UIC the break. Two parties, the same corruption. And Magallian agrees with African Rain. I am with you 100%. Just say green and orange don't help the algorithm. All right, facts. Thank you for that point, Magallian. That's a very good point. Say green and orange, not the two acronyms. All right. Facts, Damian Crawford is a general, and the people give in to Crawford. I know Mark is colonial. He don't say much about PSOJ and the program. Yeah, we know that they're trying to push this agenda on us, but we're not going to support that. All right, what else we have here? Code Red says, I am an underground worker for the UIC for over 2 years now. What you are saying is so true, but it is falling on deaf ears. I am the only one in my community talking about the UIC. It's not falling on deaf ears, It's taking a while. It's taking a while to grow, right? The way we want it to, because we're going through all the phases of the attempts at destruction. They did it to Marcus Garvey. They're going to try to do it to us, and they have been doing it to us. By now the UIC should be dead. I'm sure they're wondering, how come these guys are still hanging around? We have done everything to them. I'm in court practically every month. I was arrested on September 22nd, 2021. We're now in October 2024, and I'm still in court. The Supreme Court is not rendering a verdict. They are still holding off rendering a verdict to say whether I'm guilty or not. They don't want to render a verdict because they know that I'm right. And they're delaying and delaying and delaying and delaying. And I have to be going to court over and over, wasting time and money. But that's what they want. They want to break me. They feel as if they cut off the head of the snake, then the movement will be over. So they've been trying every way possible to break me, every way to pull me down. So I'm still in court from September 2021 until now. I'm still going to court, wasting time, wasting money, wasting energy, pulling my strength away from the UIC work, because that's how they destroyed Marcus Garvey, and that's how they plan to destroy the UIC. But we must not allow them. I know most people have forgotten about it. So, we don't get the funds we need to be able to do what we need to do, but we're still fighting. And the message is getting through little by little. More people know about the UIC now than ever before, right? Much more people. Here we have, what is this now? Agro Valley said religion is a major part of the problem. Peter White says, absolutely correct, Mr. Patterson. We need to greatly improve our infrastructure, UIC all the way. And Clifton Lawrence is saying, greetings, all uniters. I'm asking all educated Jamaicans to get up, stand up for change. Crystal Green is saying, or G rather, please answer this. If UIC become the government, would it be forced to honor all those bad contracts, such as the tolls, airports, and such? Very good question, Crystal Gale. So, my friends, the question here from Crystal G is whether or not the UIC will be forced to honor the contracts of the past that the government has entered into. The word force is a strong one, but here's what is going to happen. Contracts are not easily broken, and one has to be careful how we go about dealing with contracts. But one thing will happen for sure under a UIC government is that all contracts will be renegotiated. Some contracts will be terminated, but we're not going to be undiplomatic. We're not going to be foolish. We're not going to cut off our nose to spite our face. We're going to create win-win conditions to extricate Jamaica out of the claws of some of these onerous and erroneous contracts that we're in. So a lot of diplomacy and skillful redesign will have to take place. Okay. All right. Another comment here. When we see, good night, Mr. P. All uniters, teachers for Mr. P. Donnery King. Thank you, Donnery. Agro Valley says the two colonial, the two parties are not only colonial parties, they are white political parties with controlled slaves who the wealthy elites use to deceive and mislead the black masses. I could not agree with you more. Even with formal education, the public school system is turning out people who are not critical thinkers. Very good point, Agro Valley. When I talk about education, by the way, I don't mean what we have now. What we have now is schooling. We're being schooled and fooled. When I talk about education, I mean moving a person from darkness into light. So if you're not moving from darkness into light, you're not educated. If you don't become more aware, Agro Valley speaks of critical thinkers. And I like to talk about being able to reason from cause to effect, being able to analyze effectively. Yeah. So that's the kind of education we're talking about. Peter White, agree with you. This is a thing the UIC must do island-wide. What people see, they'll remember, of course. And remember, the UIC wants to do all these things, but we can't do a thing without us. All the way, have to jump on the UIC's website and hit the registration button, become a member, and start paying your dues and getting your friends and families to do the same. It's a simple formula. If we have 1,000 dues paying member paying $1,000 a month, that's $1 million a month. That's a billboard in, let's say we spend all of that money just on billboard. That's one in the center of Kingston or Halfway Tree, for example, one in, say, Portmore Mall area, another one in Spanish Town, and one in Mandeville, for example, or Maypen. We double that number and we have 2,000 members. That's $2 million a month. Now we have a billboard in Santa Cruz, a big billboard, in Santa Cruz, a big one in Black River, a big one in Savlamar, a big one in Negril, and we get another 1,000 members. That's another $1 million. We have a nice big one in Montego Bay, a big one in Falmouth, a big one in Otrius. That's how we're going to do it, guys. There's no other way. No other way. There's no miracle. The UIC does not have a big, rich donor. I am the biggest donor to the UIC. I have now contributed, I have started this until now, over $15 million in cost. And that's underestimated. There are costs from all kind of direction. You wouldn't be able to imagine if you were to go through all the costs I have incurred to this point. It's massive, right? I'm the biggest donor to the UIC. My wife and I, the biggest, time, energy, resources, messing up our business, messing up our lives for the UIC. We have done it. We've done everything for the movement, right? All we want now is for everybody to come on board and just give $1,000 a month, $250 a week, a patty money. Yeah. Each week, they can't even buy a patty with $250 now, actually. How much is a patty now? Somebody tell me. A patty is about, how much is a patty now? I know when I stop by a Juicy sometime and buy like, the color, the filling, cocoa bread and a drink, I'm hearing like $1,000 or something coming out there easily. So $250 a week. Just put aside $250 each week if you're here in Jamaica and say, come month end, and this may send to UIC for my dues. And if you live overseas, anywhere, Cayman, New York, Toronto, wherever you are, London, you name it, you put aside $2.50 each week and you send $10 for the month to the UIC. If we do that, people, nobody can stop us. If we get 500,000, just add 1,000 Jamaican every month for the next 5 months to the UIC, 1,000 Jamaicans anywhere you are in the world, and we give that amount of money, we will match and beat the PSOJ in their funding to their two colonial parties, and we will beat them at their own game. We will be able to mobilize in all 228 municipal division, all 63 constituencies. We won't win them all, but we'll win a lot because the people ready, but the people are so brainwashed. It has to be ready-made. It have to just come in them face. So they have to wake up and they have to just see in their community, it's saturated. UIC, 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 blue, 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 blue. Wow, look at that. UIC bus clad out, all blue, with our UIC logo and our message on it. Town criers going through the community, wah, 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 telling the people what is going on, the message of the UIC. Come out to big meeting out of Braze River, Crossroad, out of Balaclava, out of Black River, out of Sav. We're going to have big meeting, UIC out there, big speakers, big system, everything out. The people say that you'd be amazed when once they see it. It's unfortunate because they're not revolutionary, right? So they're just waiting for it to be. made, ready-made, and just present to them, unfortunately. So not all of us have the aggressive Marcus Garvey, Nani Samshaw, Bogle, energy and vibes that I have and that some of us have, right? So they're docile. They're just waiting for it to come, and then they just go vote. So we have to be the leaders. All of us here who can think and understand and appreciate what I'm talking about, we have to lead them to the polls by creating, as Mr. White says, the big billboards in all of the parishes and the major towns to say, yeah, the UIC Day here. There are many persons who will be candidates, but they're afraid because they don't have the money. They don't want to put a little job in a jeopardy and nothing go on. So they want to see that the UIC is stable financially. So there are some people who are not going to come and help you build the ship from the ground up. That's me. We'll build from the ground up. We will do the dirty work. We will get the callus on our finger. We will have our backs broken. We will bust the sweat. We will take the punishment and get the thing going. And then the others will jump on. Once it's moving and looking good, they'll jump on. No problem. So that's 80%. 80% is going to jump on if everything is moving nice and well. The rest of we know, the 20% of we have to get it done. We have to build the ship, build the boat, build the airplane, and make it take off. And then others will join us. So that's what I'm talking about here. Crystal says, Mr. Patterson, you're going to have to pay some bloggers to start highlighting UIC on their platform. Of course, let's get the money to pay them. Let's do it. Magallian, I am in on that. Let's set the goal. So the goal is 500,000 members giving just $10 a month, 10 US a month, 1,000 Jamaican dollars a month. That's the goal. So every single week, we're meeting every Tuesday. Remember, I tell you, we're meeting on Tuesdays, 8:30 p.m. Go to the website and sign up now, register now so that you can get it in your email boxes. We'll send you the link. Or if you don't want to do the online, thing, you want to just WhatsApp the number, 876-293-0812. And from that, you'll get some information there, right? Peter said, well said, Agra Valley. We have to send a message to the people so it sinks in through a billboard fund. Yeah. So a billboard fund. You can, if you go to the website now and you want to give to a billboard, you say, listen, we want $1,300 to put up a billboard in Kingston, for example. You go on, donate and say for the billboard. So that money will go directly to the billboard, right? All right. Unity or Hell says, don't force the growth. I'm not sure what that means, Unity, but thanks for sharing. Magallan says, I want in on the billboard. Let's plan that. Okay, that's a go. Divine timing, Mr. Patterson. UIC time will come. Kunta Mandala said that. And Agra Valley says, schooling, preparing people to make money versus education, lifelong journey where people unlearn, relearn, and learn, make positive change to society. Nicely said. Patty costs over $300. You hear that? Patty costs over $300. I'll be one of the first to contribute to the Billboard Fund, says Mr. Peter White. All right, so it is begun. Go ahead, everyone, go ahead and donate to the Billboard Fund. Go on the website and click donate, uicjamaica.com. Click on the website, donate, and just put in the comment line Billboard Fund, and your funds will go to the billboard. Could you repeat how much the billboard will cost? $1,300 US, my friends. Thank you. Much Jamaican followers, they're just waiting to see. That's true. With proper strategy, it's not improbable to replace these two colonial parties. I am sure we can replace them. I just need some more Jamaicans like myself. Some people who are not afraid, some people who are not wishy-washy, some people who are not committed to just praying and hoping that something happen. We have to make something happen, friends. That's my whole life has been like that. My whole life has been about making something happen. I was born to a very, 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 very poor single mother of three. We lived in one room, not even a one bedroom, one room. That's just one room, no kitchen, no bathroom, no living room, no dining room, no bedroom, just one room. The four of us slept on one bed, head to toe, with a chimney under the bed, with a little two-burner gas stove in the corner. You know, there's that gas stove that sit on two string legs, and you push the little gas cylinder onto the bottom there, dangerous contraption. And we had one little mahogany-looking cabinet in one corner with a black and white TV on the top, a gray table in a corner, two windows on either side of the little one-room house. And when rain fall, it leaks, you have to put a plastic container on the bed and beside the bed to catch water. Yeah, so that's where I was born. That's how my first 11 years of life, I experienced that kind of living. And my mother didn't have time to help me with my schoolwork. So I went to school and do the best I can, not knowing A from bullfoot, left from right. Fortunately, my grandmother taught me to read at the age of 3. So I was already reading by the age of 3 because she was very smart and insisted that I read the headlines of the Gleaner before she would give me the comic strip. And so that's how I learned to read early. But that was it. That was it. And when I realized that I was poor, when I realized how poor we were, I made a commitment that I was not going to stay poor. And I promised my mother at 7 years old, I said to her, "Mommy, I'm going to get rich and take care of you." And so I set out on a mission to lift myself out of poverty and to make sure that I could take care of my mother. And so today I am that person that I am today because I did not give up because it seemed impossible. And when you're born like me, when you're born in my condition, it is impossible, it appears. How are you going to make it out of this? I failed the common entrance twice, 2 times, failed. I don't even know why I was looking for my name in the paper, because how would I see my name in the paper? I was as dunce as a bat. Yes, I could read, but that was it. I couldn't do a lick of math. I was completely mathematically illiterate. Yeah. And so I then went on and took the technical entrance, and I failed that too. And then it dawned on me that if I want to change my outcome, I have to change my behavior. So I had to go and figure out, how do people get bright? How do people get smart? How do you make yourself a better person? So I started studying great people and their lifestyles. I studied Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, the religious fellow, Napoleon Bonaparte, Thomas Edison, and I came across a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and other self-help books. I started to go to the library. By the time I was 9 years old, so my mama wanted to join the library. She was so happy, that little lady. So she took me to the library, and I joined the library. The first library I joined was Tom Redcom Library, and the one out at Duane Park somewhere there as well. And so I started borrowing books and reading books and studying to uplift myself, trying to figure out, how do you get out of this thing called poverty? Then I went to live with my dad. I ran away from home, tell my mother it was enough. She has done enough. So it's time for my dad to pick up the slack. So I went to live with him. And with my father, I had a stepmother who was very, very good with her daughters. She had 2 daughters, my 2 stepsisters, and she was so good at managing their lessons and guiding them to study. And when they come from school, she would sit with them and make sure that they did their schoolwork. So I started to copy them, look at what they're doing and copy, and okay, wow, that's how you do it. Okay. And so One day somebody said to my father that this fella can't do much with his head. They have to send him to a school to do something with his hands. So they sent him to Spanish Town Secondary. That hit me like a bolt of lightning. And I decided I'm going to do something about this. I don't think I can't do anything with my head. So I'm going to set out on a mission to prove that wrong. And so at Spanish Town Secondary, I took over the school. Ask any of my teachers. Some of them are still alive today. They'll tell you. Miss Pinnock, Mrs. O'Connor, Miss Wallace. They'll tell you. I got dead serious about transforming that school and myself into behaving like traditional high school children, studying hard. And by the time I finished Spanish Town Secondary and got a special place to go to St. Andrew Technical High School, I amassed 13 subjects, distinction in math and history and them kind of stuff. Yeah. And got a full scholarship to study engineering at UTech. Just remember now, this poor old boy living in one room with his mother, determined to come out of this. And I migrated and went to Canada, and there again rose through the ranks very quickly. By the age of 35, I was director of finance in the government. Yeah. And by the age of 40, I'm back in Jamaica with my family. So if I can do that with my own life, we can do that with our country. We can make Jamaica a prosperous Jamaica, a safe Jamaica, a very orderly Jamaica. Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore has proven that you can take a dirty, backward, unsafe country and make it into a first-class country in a short period of time. Lee Kuan Yew did it in 25 years. Singapore went from being a third world country which is smaller than Jamaica, less resources than Jamaica, and they became a first world country in 25 years, one generation. We don't have to take 25 years, because just like how scientists build on the achievements of other scientists, we can learn from the achievements of other countries. We can learn from Singapore. We can learn from the Netherlands. We can learn from African countries that have progressed, and we can build on that. So I'm committed, if you are, to transform Jamaica. But we have to get serious, man. We have to get dead serious. I think too many of us are sitting on the sidelines waiting for a miracle to happen. There will be no miracle. The miracle is believing. The miracle is acting upon our belief. The miracle is setting clear, unequivocal goals and working towards them every single day. Too many of us are wishing that Jamaica would get better. It's time for us to work for Jamaica to get better. We now have 80 years, 80 long years of history of the two colonial parties. We now know without a shadow of a doubt that they cannot and they will not help us. Those of you who are putting your faith in Mark Golding, you are wasting your faith. You're wasting your hope. Mark Golding is a creature of the political system. Those of you who are hoping that Andrew Holness will transform and do better, you're wasting your hope. He's a creature of the political system. He cannot help himself but do what they've always done. It's in their DNA. All they can do effectively is deceive, distract, divide. That they know. They have mastered that. They're very good at winning elections. They're very good at deceiving the Jamaican people into voting for them one more time. And whenever they need to, they will change leaders. Right now, the Prime Minister is not looking so good. He's embroiled. His party will be with him until he becomes too much of a liability. They will switch him out and put somebody else at the front. It will not change him. It will not change the new leader. It will not change the party. Its DNA is power at all costs and to maintain the system that currently exists by any means necessary. And the same is true for the other party as well. If Mark fails in this election, they will switch him out and put another one in. Their sole purpose, is power at all costs. They will never fix our education system to liberate our people. Never. They will never bring this crime monster to an end. They will spend billions. They will come up with new and novel crime plans. They will make many bold statements. They have done that now for 80 years. And all you see is it going from bad to worse. Yes, you will have ups and downs in the statistics. They will change the way they measure the problem. They will dissect and tell you, some crimes are this type of crimes and some crimes are that types of crimes, and they will dissect so they can change the statistics and lie with the numbers. They will tell you how unemployment is down, and they will take out those who are no longer looking for work, and they will manipulate the numbers and give you a number. They will tell you that GDP is getting better, all kind of stuff. But you know, deep down, you know the reality. You just look around you. Come to my community here in Elam and Bogue and Braze River and Santa Cruz. Just come and just stand up and look, and you will tell me if we have developed. There's no development for the vast majority of Jamaicans. Who is going to afford those homes for millions of dollars, many multiple times your salary? Who is the ordinary Jamaican who's going to buy those homes? And even if you buy it, what are you buying? You're buying 30 years of slavery. You'll be laboring for 30 years or more to pay back that mortgage. You are a slave for 30 years. So you went to UA or UTech or wherever and you got your degree. You're now 23, 24, 25 when you get your degree. You have to wobble around to try to get a job within your area of studies. You're lucky if you do. But let's say you do get something within your area of study. How long will it take you to build up the down payment for the home? Okay, let's say you do it in 5 years. You now have the down payment at age 30. And you're going to spend the next 30 years paying off this mortgage. By the time you get to year 20, you have to borrow money to fix the roof, to fix the plumbing, to fix the electrical. And I'm being generous here by saying year 20. But your house is beginning to crumble. So you have to refinance and stretch that out maybe another 10 years, 40 years to pay off your mortgage, if you're lucky. Not to mention, within that 30-year period, every 5 years, you have a mortgage reset to face. The uncertainty, what will interest rate be when you're resetting your mortgage? Could you find yourself in a situation like those in the 1990s where you had a massive interest rate spike due to government policy, high interest rate policy, that makes it unaffordable for you to pay your mortgage, and then after maybe paying into this mortgage for 15 years, you lose the home? You're back to square one. Do you see what they're doing to you? The UIC is the only political party which is committed to making Jamaica a different kind of place where you have real money, where your government actually works for you, where the monetary system is designed to protect your purchasing power, as opposed to what it is now. It's a game, a trick, a fraud. And so many people are suffering day in, day out because they don't even understand what government is doing to them. I wish I could teach you everything I know in a short period of time, but it's not that simple, unfortunately. But I've taken the time to carefully study finance, economics, banking, politics, political science. I really understand what is happening, and I've spent the time designing solutions to make Jamaica the next Singapore, or at least no less than Singapore. We can do it, we must do it, but we have to come together to make it possible. So, in closing, let me say to you again, with the greatest of clarity possible that I can muster up to say this. We must return to Marcus Garvey. Not so much the extraneous teachings of Garvey, the fundamentals. Garvey wanted us to unite, not to be tribalized again into green or orange or even blue. He wanted us to unite. The UIC is that movement to unite us. The United Independence Congress. We're here to unite independent thinkers to lead Jamaica in a new direction. And what's that direction? Number one, we must liberate ourselves, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, liberate ourselves with our policy. One of the greatest problems in Jamaica's economy is that the laws and regulations are actually designed to punish entrepreneurs, to oppress entrepreneurs, and to protect the big business class. We have to change those laws and regulations to open up the economy and empower the small, medium enterprises to flourish. We have to liberate our people. And thirdly, we have to empower our people with true education, with substantive education, with the kind of education that allows them to think outside the box, to move from darkness into light, to be able to reason from cause to effect, and to have the productive skills, the competences to be able to produce at their maximum capacity. That's the only way to have prosperity. Don't be fooled again by the fake prosperity that Andrew told you about. That was prosperity without productivity. That's not prosperity, that's stupidity. And we've seen the result of that. The time has come for us to tell our people the hard truth and empower them with facts and with a system that will allow all of us to become productive rather than handout dependent or corruption dependent. We need a new Jamaica that is built on a meritocracy system where you grow by merit. But we also have to help people because some people are mentally damaged. So we have to help people to get back in the seat of a meritocracy and learn and grow accordingly. With that, we can create a safe, clean, and orderly Jamaica. The prerequisite for us to be productive. We cannot be productive if we remain insecure and unsafe. We cannot bring out the best in our people if we don't become a very clean and orderly society. And so I am committed to this task, but I need you to join me in it. And together we shall create the most powerful political movement Jamaica has ever seen, the rebirth of Marcus Garvey, the rebirth of the Marcus Garvey vision of a people-funded political movement where we, the people, fund our party, own our party, and take back our country from the colonizers. That is the plan, that is the aim, that is the goal. And so meet with me this Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. and every Tuesday. As we progress, we set the goals, we will chart our progress, we'll take your inputs, your feedback, your suggestions, your ideas, and together we will grow this movement to 500,000 strong. And at that point, nobody can tell me that we're wrong. So thank you all for being here tonight. Miss Juliet, thank you for your comments. King Solomon, big up yourself. Williams Limited, thank you for your donation towards the billboard of $130 US. Everyone, thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to make this happen. Let's rate the show If you thought that this content was useful and very positive and impactful, give me 100%. If not, give me something less than that. But let me know your thoughts, right? So even after I come off the program, feel free to go back on and leave some comments and let me know what you think. This movement is yours. The UIC belongs to you. So you have to tell me what you want. And as a leader, I will not always agree with you. I will push back, we will discuss, and we'll get to the positive end. A good leader is not one that simply does what people want. A good leader is one that listens, learns, understands, and give you food for thought, give you ideas, provide a vision and direction, and together we can chisel and shape it and make sure we get to the end result, which is a better state for all of us in this wonderful land of Jamaica. And those of you who are around the world, who are waiting to come back, who are dying to come back, but you know you can't come back. So because Jamaica is not safe, not just from a security standpoint, but even economically, it's not safe. You have to be very careful when you're coming back. You have to plan properly and manage that properly. And so you want to know that you have a movement, the UIC, that's working for you, that will make that transition easier for you, your children, and your grandchildren. So once again, thank you. Have a good night. And remember, one Jamaica, because we're stronger together. Take care and see you on Tuesday at 8:30 sharp. Okay. If you're not registered yet, go online, uicjamaica.com, register so we know, so you can get the email to come into the program, or WhatsApp the number on screen, 876-293-0812, and let's get together and feel all right. Have a good night. Until next time, all the best to you. Take care. And remember a Christmas banquet here, yeah?
Hi everyone, this is Charlotte, and I hope you're doing great. I'm just stopping by to say hello and to remind you that UIC's annual Christmas fundraising banquet will be December 14th, 2024, starting at 5 p.m. This year, our location will be Summit Kingston, formerly called Knutsford Court Hotel, which is at 16 Chelsea Avenue, Kingston 10. As you may know, UIC Jamaica is 100% committed to good governance and aims to unite, liberate, and empower our people. If you desire to see Jamaica become the paradise it should be, clean, safe, beautiful, and orderly, then your contribution of 10,000 Jamaican dollars or 65 US per adult and 5,000 Jamaican dollars or 35 US per child will help us to provide a new leadership, a new system for a new Jamaica. We promise an evening with lots of fun, lively entertainment, great speeches, and delicious food. While it would be my greatest desire to see you all in person, I know some may not make it home for Christmas, but your donation will give someone less fortunate the opportunity to attend. Thank you so much for taking part in helping us to educate and work with our citizens to restore and in some cases rebuild our beautiful country. Here are your options to purchase your ticket. You can go to www.uicjamaica.com and pay online, or you can send payment via Western Union, MoneyGram, Zelle, Cash App, or bank transfer. Call 876-293-0812 for additional information. To RSVP, you can email us at info@uicjamaica.com, or you can WhatsApp us at 876-293-0812. Thanks a million for making this possible. One Jamaica, stronger together.